Hello, I am Blue the Jaegerist, and I'm going to be doing a video about 139. I've been doing a bunch of 139 videos because a lot needs to be said about 139. There's a lot of idiots going around thinking that they know about the story. Now, I'm here to explain. I do really believe if you watch this video, I do believe that you will understand how 139 is satisfying. Now, but right off the bat, so you don't click on the video. Listen, I'm not saying the chapter was perfect. I'm not saying it was maybe even. Oh, I'll say it's good. I'll say it's good. It's slightly above mediocre. Okay, the actual chapter itself, it was heavily rushed and a lot went unexplained. Okay, I'm not gonna say that because if I say that, that's gonna discredit me because it was rushed. It was objectively rushed. There's no question about that. Okay, what I am saying is I am saying that the ending was satisfying. It was a satisfying ending. Okay, but there's a lot of context you need before you come to this conclusion that's a satisfying ending. Okay, so one of the main reasons that people say it's not a satisfying ending is because parody gets destroyed after, or actually rather they didn't they read the chapter in April and were idiots, and then they thought it was worse because parody got destroyed after. Now, a couple things. Number one, we don't know who destroyed parody, so we don't know that it was Marley. Okay, this is extremely ambiguous, and I don't know the personal belief in the Civil War. You can believe whatever you want because Isayama said he could via Goth Mikasa. He said you can interpret it however you want to interpret it, but he left this extremely vague on purpose. So you can't say it's the Marlians. I don't even think it's even close to being the Marlians. If you look at this logically, the Marlians would have all been dead and not remembered this. The next generation of Marlians would not have the same hate towards Eren. I mean, they probably would have still had hate, but not as much as the old generation. And number two, the Paradig's military would have been much, much superior to them. So how Marley would have attacked them is actually a less likely scenario than it being a civil war. And they're also an island, which, as everyone knows, are much, much harder to invade than countries are. Just as Hitler, he rolled right through Poland, and then he went to United Kingdom, and that did not go so well, right? Also in World War One, some general had a crazy idea to come invade the United States. Again, this is in World War One, not World War Two. World War One. We're not yet a global superpower, and it was a dumb idea that the Kaiser had to go in. I think it's like the Chancellor tried to do this, and the Kaiser had to go down and strike and say, "This is stupid. We're not going to do this." For a multitude of reasons, the biggest one being water. And as another German example, Otto von Bismarck said, "The Americans are lucky; they're surrounded to the north and south by friendly and weak neighbors, and to the east and west by fish." Again, I say this all to say that it's exponentially harder to invade an island than it is to invade a connected landmass. So that's why I'm saying, for all those three reasons, why I'm saying I think it's actually unlikely, very unlikely that Marley did this. Now, as the first reason why it's standing satisfying for me is because we see that Eren succeeds in his goals. We see all his sacrifices were recognized. We see that they live long, happy lives. We see that they enjoy freedom, all of them, even global freedom, international freedom, because again, no one is there to meddle in their politics and they're not dependent on anyone like most new nations are. Most new nations are either dependent on someone because they're weaker than other nations or poorer than other nations, or they're dependent on someone because they were funded by another nation to be independent. Okay? I mentioned again that the best example of this would be the Thomas Jefferson embargo. Yay, we're a free independent country, but we're still dependent on the British, right? But this is when they were suddenly the most powerful and the richest country, and they had no strings to anyone. So they enjoyed a great deal of freedom and happiness, as you see. So that's why number one, why it's satisfying. Number two, why it's satisfying is people are upset about the love, right between Eren and Mikasa. They said it. Someone said it came out of nowhere. Can you believe that? Said it came out of nowhere. Came out of nowhere. All right, but it was more satisfying to me because instead of his goals being to simply kill all his enemies, which I'm not saying is not a cool thing to do. That's definitely very cool to do, but it made him like exponentially more noble because actually the main reason, the main reason why I wanted him to be the baby's father is because it would have been his family. The baby would have been his kid, and his story would have been his wife. Okay, and which would have done a couple of things. It would have made it so that he had a family. He had a kid to protect. He had a wife to protect, and he would have made him the sort of de facto king of parody, which means that it's his responsibility to protect parody. So his actions of protecting his family, protecting his wife, protecting his country, being the de facto king, were all more justified. I thought his actions were justified, but simply doing it for your friends, when you're not really the king of the nation, was a bit iffy for me. Well, not iffy. I still fully support his actions, but well, it's the outcome. Maybe not the method, but the outcome. I fully support the outcome, but the method, it was on shakier ground since he had no family to back it up. He only had close friends, and he wasn't even the king of the nation. So that's why I wanted him to be the father. Instead, we get something much better. Instead of him being a patriot, he's a lover. Well, not a husband, but a lover. And that was more satisfying because it's better to be a husband than a patriot. I think we can all agree on that. Being a patriot is great and awesome, right? But love of family, especially love of one's wife, is the second, probably should be the second strongest love in human existence, right? So you're loving your wife, and then you do this all for your wife, and then we see it gets foreshadowed again because you people didn't read this in April. Actually, this wouldn't have mattered whether we read it April or October, but you see with the music, you see Child of Evil, and you see the beautiful line, "The world is cruel, but I still love you. I'll do anything to protect you." Right? And then at the end he says, which they should not change this ending. I know we're all excited to get a new opening for the season 4 part 3, but the ending should not be changed because it is perfect. The end of the song here, he sums it all up. He says, "I love you." Number 1, he says, "I'll do anything to protect you," and then he says something along the lines of, even if I'm not sure, I believe it. Believing yourself is the right thing to do. And then he's gone. There's nothing else to say after that. You cannot say anything after that. So that this love, this genuine love of a woman who he has romantic feelings towards, to me is more satisfying. And the fact that he sacrifices himself. We already knew he sacrificed himself by having to kill these people, right? So I thought that's a sacrifice. Little did I know that he distanced himself for 4 years, then went and killed innocent people, and then on top of all those incredible sacrifices, offered up his own life. Beautiful. He didn't enjoy any of his sacrifices. Everything he sacrificed, everything he put on the line, went directly to Mikasa and directly to his friends. It's incredible. And that to me was more satisfying. I find that better. A better man than keep moving forward. Again, as I said last time, what's better? What do I think is a better man? A man who goes and beats up an assailant, right, with a knife? Or a man who steps in front of his son and takes a bullet for his son or for his wife? Which one do you like more? Maybe you do like the Chad, I'm going to fight this guy off, or, maybe he gets his gun and he starts, putting bullets in him. The typical Second Amendment right-wing, masculine image, which is very masculine. I'm not saying it's not masculine. It is very masculine. I did like Mr. Keep Moving Forward. But the thing is, the thing is about Eren is that I never had a headcanon that was destructive to the actual story. You people had headcanons, and when your headcanon wasn't satisfied, then you throw a hissy fit. Then you got pissed off. My headcanon, I did like. I'll tell you what my headcanon was. I'll tell you what it was. Here's what happened. I promise you this is what happened. Again, I have no way to back this up. I'm very sorry about that, but this is my headcanon. Eren goes, he makes another speech, and he tells everyone, look, listen, just like I carried it all the weight, all the burden in trust, I'm going to carry it again. All these innocent lives, Annie and Reiner and Berthold, they weren't strong enough to deal with the ramifications of killing innocent lives. I will. I put that all on me. That's fine. I will do everything I can to secure Parady's future. And then he kills everybody. And I knew that Curse Ymir had to go. I had no solution for that at all. I had no, but I knew that the Curse Ymir had to go. But I couldn't find a way to do it without any plot holes. So I just said, okay, well, maybe the Curse Ymir is gone, and we don't know why, right? So the Curse Ymir is gone somehow without plot holes, and he lives with he stores his wife, and over time, people start spreading out, and they start identifying with their region more than they identify with the race, and they forget Eren's sacrifice. And so what they do is Eren's sons, they pass on the attack titan, not every 13 years, but every time they die, they pass on the attack titan, and then they get this visceral reminder every time there's racism or crime, a crime against different regions, like a major crime. He reminds them we all are Eldians, right? Because there's a strong spirit of patriotism, brotherhood in Attack on Titans. We're all Eldians. I died for all of you. I did the sacrifice for all of you. Well, not die because he didn't die, but I did this incredible sacrifice for all of you. I killed those people for all of you. You're no different than this. You're no different than your brother. What are you doing? So his sons would bring them to the palace and show them this. And then the Hizaru experienced racism because the Eldians saw themselves as a higher race because they had Eren. Eren's the most powerful person, and Eren can bring them into the palace and all this. And he's a great historical figure. And then, those skirmishes, but they generally lived happily ever after. That was my headcanon, okay? Right? Notice in my headcanon, they bought time, and they still was war after. But besides that, I kept an open mind because I knew the ending was not going to be as predictable as Death Note's ending. See, Death Note is a great story with a very predictable ending. Attack on Titan is a great story with a great ending. Instead of, simply the good guy or bad guy winning, which is what happened in Death Note, I was like, okay, well, surely this intelligent author is not going to have the ending be so obvious. I mean, the good guy wins and the bad guy wins. There has to be some sort of third plot twist I haven't seen coming. And I was, I was disappointed. I was disappointed at the ending. And it's not because I like Light. It's just because this could have been predicted back in episode 2. Very, very predictable. But as far as Attack on Titan goes, it wasn't. I knew Isayama was going to do something different. I knew it was going to be something special, and it was. Instead of either Eren achieves a rumbling and achieves peace for everybody, the Eldians, or they kill him and stop the rumbling, it was this great third option that was properly foreshadowed, where this entire time he knew his Titans were going to be gone, and he wanted Mikasa had to kill him because she had to inspire or give hope to Ymir and women around the world about overcoming their love or Stockholm syndrome for their lovers and do the right thing. Do what's best for themselves. Well, for Ymir to do what's best for herself, or Mikasa to do what's best for the world. And Mikasa makes a sacrifice and she, kills him. And then we see it's this deeply tragic love story. It's like, wow, this could have all been great had Mikasa given a different answer. And then, the rest plays out. They all grow old, die together, and they're all happy. And of course, the story gets into hell, and then all this other stuff. So, that was a satisfying ending because it was a third option. It was not predictable. Going into it, 135, 136, it wasn't either, okay, good guy wins or bad guy wins, right? It was this other thing where it was actually entirely in Aaron's plan to potentially die, and Mikasa ended up killing him, thus freeing him, right? And then you get to look back and see, oh, this thing. Okay, this all makes sense now. Now, for another piece of criticism, people say is, why did Aaron ask Reiner why his mother died if he himself killed her? Oh, this is I a lot of people are losing faith in humanity because of this is not controversial to say, because of Joe Biden, because of the way America's going. I don't, because Joe Biden is hopeful compared to the complete ineptitude of some of these people. Do you not understand that what Aaron was trying to do when he said, "Why did my mother have to die"? Do you understand what's going on there? He wasn't asking a genuine question, you morons. And secondly, it never said he killed his own mother. Again, I said this the first video got deleted. He never said he killed his own mother. He never said that. And then he certainly didn't say he killed her so he could have the motivation to fight. He never said that either. You're tripping. He never said any of that. Now, he implied it. Yes, he did imply it. But I want to be very careful here, because you got people who are saying that morally attacked Perry and took vengeance for the rumbling. No one attacked because there's oil deposits there. No one's ever attacked a country because of oil. That's ridiculous. There was not a civil war there. Ridiculous. There's never been civil wars before. It's because of the rumbling. That's why Barley attacked. He never said that. And then he's saying, oh, Aaron killed his own mom to get the motivation to fight Titan. So why is he asking Reiner? No. He's asking that because he's saying he knows why. He knows the answer. His mother died because it was a necessary sacrifice to save the world. That's why when he's killing other people's mothers, it's a necessary sacrifice to save the world. But plot twist is to make so his friends live long, happy lives. That's why he was asking him that. That's why. Not to. I mean, it was sort of a little bit maybe to guilt trip, but guilt tripping him was not the main option. He was not trying to find a genuine answer. He was certainly was trying to find a genuine answer. He already knew why. You muppet. How foolish can you be? Is there any depth to your stupidity? Is there any end to your folly? I look and I find more and more and more, and it's a giant cesspool of idiocy. And then I go and say, okay, well, what's the alternative? What's the alternative? And A&R isn't done yet, so I can't pick an A&R just yet. But this deeply, deeply disgusting and unsatisfying A&R trash, where it's just these two idealized men. And when I say idealized, I mean culturally idealized, as in they are what shallow incels believe what a man is or what a man should be. I'm talking about Armin and Aaron, and they're just comparing their ab sizes and battling it out, right, in the past. So deeply, deeply unsatisfying. Now let's move on to the biggest and probably the most valid reason of why it's unsatisfying. And they say, well, look, the giant tree's up again, and the boy or girl finds it. So, and that is valid. That is valid why it's unsatisfying, because it does end on a somber note. Now, I would actually change that. Me personally, I would make it so the last thing you see is something happy, but that's just my personal opinion. Why this is still a satisfying ending? And again, I'm not a lunatic. I'm not like basically trying to defend the CM. I don't have any personal history with the CMA. So it's not paying me to do anything. Listen to what I have to say. Why is this still a satisfying ending? It's because it shows a couple of things. A, he's not naive. No, actually, no, 3 things. B, it's original. A, it's original. I know A, it sticks to the themes of the story. B, it shows he's not naive. And C, it's original. Or 3, it's original. And again, I cannot wait till A&R comes out. I cannot wait, because I cannot wait to see how they do this. Because what did you want? A little fairy tale ending? I mean, I know you guys don't have kids, so you guys don't have to watch the Disney movies over and over and over again. But if you did have kids, if you did watch the Disney movies over and over again, you'd probably get a little sick of the happily ever after thing. Especially since I brought up in my first video, which is World War I was called the war to end all wars, ironically enough. And it's not ironic because there's a war going on in Yemen, there's a war going on in Israel. But there's also another world war that happened that was much more destructive. So much more destructive. No one even talks about the First World War. The First World War, that's small potatoes. Nuclear bombs. When nuclear bombs were in World War One, that's nonsense. That's small potatoes. Everyone cares about World War Two. How people died in World War Two. What happened in World War Two. World War One is a footnote. It's a footnote in modern history, or in particularly in modern American in Americans' minds, is an absolute footnote. But because it's ridiculous to believe that wars will end. That's dumb. And the story was about the cycle of violence, which is why the Marlians are the bad guys, and the Eldians are which is why the Eldians are the bad guys, and then the Marlians are the bad guys. So when someone does something bad, you're not like, that's so surprising. I thought they were the good guys, right? You'd be like, no, both are bad. Humans are bad, and the cycle of violence continues. What did the cult say? The devil lives in all of us. So the cycle of violence will always continue. So to not have this would show an assassination of that, because he's implying that there's a happy ending. Because we see, the last thing we see in the first version, I put with very heavy quotes because it's the first version of anything. It's a part of a draft, but the first thing we saw in 139 was the bird flying away, and she's like, "Oh, thank you," or something like that. It's a very happy ending. It implies happiness, and then then we see she's laying down her grave, an old woman, happily married, has kids, has grandkids, and we see all this happiness and joy on the alien side. So to not have this in there would sort of assassinate and retcon things in the story, which is the cycle of violence will always continue. There's that bittersweetness that the cycle of violence will always continue. That's why it's called Pax Americana, because peace is not the natural state of affairs in any region, and particularly in this region, right? So Pax Americana recognized that there was a period of time where it was peaceful, or where it is peaceful in this region, right? Because it's abnormal for it to be peace. Otherwise, it'd be called, I don't know what the Latin is for war, but it'd be called, maybe like mortal Americana, whatever war or death means. It'd be something like, oh, this is abnormally, war and death is abnormally, so they'd call it that. But instead, peace is abnormally. That's why the period is called Pax Americana, because it's an abnormal, it's an anomaly. And then C, it's original. Attack on Titan has always gone down and dirty. It's always done. It has never pretended to have any filters. It's never pretended to have any fake, sugar-coated nonsense. Every moment is felt, whether it is sad or whether it's happy. And to have this, it's truly bittersweet, because it's like, yeah, after whatever time we're watching this in, right now we're in the Yemen war, the Palestine war, the Ukraine war. After those wars are done, there's going to be more wars. But when the war is over, when you're having that parade, when World War I is over, and you're celebrating peace, there's still a good time to be in the moment, happy about peace, but still the understanding that wars get to come, right? And this is, again, this goes back to Armin 137. I didn't want to shoot a video about 137. 137 is an incredible chapter where he talks about living in the moment and really enjoying trivial things. So Armin lives in the moment. That's why Armin's the freest character in the show, because he lives in the moment. He genuinely enjoys his current situation but he has aspirations for the future. He has greater aspirations for the future, but he's still happy in the moment. So when you're having that parade, the victory parade over World War I, World War II, end of the Palestine-Israeli war, and you're, maybe you're waving a flag, maybe you're eating a donut, whatever you're doing, you're just in the moment. You're like, man, I'm so happy. This is good. But still to understand that war is yet to come. You're going to see more wars, right? As I did in my last video, you got folks who've lived through the Vietnam War, the Korean War, the Iraq Wars, Afghanistan War, Yemen, Israel, countless other civil wars, and then probably the next war is going to be a proxy war between the United States and China. That might be the next war, or maybe Iran and Iraq. Who knows what the next war is going to be? But you can still celebrate that moment when it's peaceful, and that's what it's about. It's about celebrating trivial moments in the grand scheme of things, which is brief moments of peace between war. This all circles back to 137. And it's original, as I said. It's original because you don't see this. That's why I was saying that it was down and dirty. This story has never trifled with idealized situations or sugar-coated situations. And this is real. This is a real world. There's always going to be a war, and the cycle of events will always continue. And that is why it has it in there, because it's a deeply realistic aspect. And it's an aspect that's usually found in classic literature. Again, if you came to watch an anime, sure, I guess it's bad. But if you came to really have a thought-provoking, educational experience like you would when you read classic literature, that's what you would see. Again, I brought up Animal Farm. No one's angry or no one calls Orwell a bad author because Animal Farm has an incredibly bleak ending that is very similar to Attack on Titan's ending, where the cycle of violence just continues again. He looks the same as a man. Napoleon looks the same as a man. He is now Mr. Jones. He's now the guy that got kicked out. He's become the bad guy. The situation is reverted. And that's why the mule is always apathetic, because he's like, I know what's going to happen. Mr. Jones is going to get kicked out. It's going to go right back to the way things were. It's going to go right back around. Cycle of violence will continue. But no one says he's a bad author. Everyone praises him, as they should praise. George Orwell is an incredible author. But if you're going to praise George Orwell, and he has an incredibly bleak and disturbing and foreshadowed ending, because again, the mule foreshadows it, and then Aaron foreshadow this ending, where Aaron says humanity won't stop fighting till humanity is down to one or less. And Aaron says, when Pixis asks him if there was one enemy, would humanity unite to fight him? And Aaron says that idea is rosy. That would never happen, right? So this was foreshadowed. Orwell foreshadowed it, and it all came full circle. The cycle of violence booted up all over again, but there is still to enjoy the trivial moment of peace between war. What would it be? Pax Parity? Pax Paradius? Pax Parity? Pax Eldian? I don't know. But there was a generally good time where everyone was happy, peaceful, and rich. Okay. So I hope you guys liked my video. I hope you took it to heart. If you have any counter arguments, please comment them, and I will probably make a full-length video response. I have a lot of time to do stuff, and my channel is small, so I'm able to read your comment. If you have a negative comment, you're very welcome to put that in there. By all means, go ahead, put a negative comment in. I might tell you to dislike the video, but YouTube destroyed the dislike button for some reason. Anyway, just hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you guys learned something from it. Hope you guys got some improvement. Again, this has been Below the Jaegerist. Hope you have a good day.